Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Once again, we want to thank the Sangat for being here. We're going to continue on with the program. The next 45 minutes or so will be Kirtan. First, we'll be having a Shabad by the visiting Ragi Ji, Bhai Sahib Sital, who will be beginning right now, followed by Bhai Singh and his Jatha, and then there'll be a Shabad done by the family. So again, we thank you all. For everyone, please come upstairs and join the continuation, the memorial for my grandmother, Harmandir Kaur Bajwa. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
सारी ना जाननी काज सवारण हार काज सवारण हार। साडे सत्कारयोग माता हरवंत कौर जी बारिया जो संसारक यात्रा करते हुए संत के चरणों च बराजे हैं, उन्होंने निमित्त उन्होंने याद उन्होंने प्यारी मिठी याद में समूह संगतां सतगुर दे हजूर रब्बी गुरबाणी दे नाल जुड़े हो। हुणे ही आप जी ने नौवें महले के श्लोक बहुत ही प्यार दे नाल दिलों भिज के भैन जी पासों आप जी ने सरवण किए हैं। सतगुर कृपा करते हैं। धन धन गुरु अमरदास जी महाराज क्या जाना कि मरेंगे कैसा मरना होए, जेकर साहिब मनो ना विसरै तो सहला मरना होए। मरने ते जगत डरै जीविया लोड़ै सब कोए, गुर प्रसादी जीवत मरै हुक्मै बूझै सोए। नानक ऐसी मरनी जो मरै तां सद ही जीवन होए। शब्द मरो फिर जीवो सद ही तां फिर मरण ना होए। जेड़े जींदे जी परमेश्वर जी दे चरनां च मन करके तन करके हिरदे रूपी धन तो जुड़ जाते हैं ते उन्हां दा आउणा उन्हां दा जीवन सफल हो जाता। इस तरह सुनना चाहे दास नूं कि जिहड़ा परिवार सारा ही परिवार सतगुर दे चरनां नाल जुड़िया है। ते माता जी क्योंकि जे बजुर्ग बड़े लोग जुड़े हुए होण तां बच्चों ने आप ही जुड़ जाना। आओ शब्द नाल जुड़िए, सतगुर कृपा करन सारे जपिए जी। क्या जाना कि मरेंगे क्या जाना कि मरेंगे ऐसा मरना ऐसा मरना हो। क्या बरसती जीवत मरा हुक्म बुझे सो हुक्म बुझे सो एक प्रसादी जीवत इतनी ही सेवा प्रवान करनी जी। सब ने भाई जितने भी जी आए हैं ये अरदास करके जानी है कि सतगुर सच्चे पातशाह महाराज माता हरबंस कौर जी की पवित्र आत्मा अपने चरणों च सदैव काल लिए निवास बख्शण। उन्होंने पिछले परिवार को सारिया संगतां सब नूं सानूं महाराज भावना च रखण। सेवा प्रवान करते हुए फतेह बुलाइए जी। वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा वाहिगुरू जी की
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I want to thank Bhai Sahib Sital, who is visiting for his beautiful Shabad of remembrance. Now Bhai Amarjeet Singh will do the next part of the program, Kirtan, and then we'll be followed by a Shabad from my father with the family. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
बंदगी होकर बंदगी। सत्कारयोग माता जी बीबी हरवंत कौर जी 10 ਨੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 21 ਸਾਲ ਨੂੰ ਕਰੀਬ ਹੋ ਗਏ। ਉਦੋਂ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕਰਕੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਪੂਰਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਬਾਜਵਾ, ਬੀਬੀ ਜੀ ਹਰਵੰਤ ਕੌਰ, ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ, ਰਵਿੰਦਰ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ, ਸੁੰਦਰ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ, ਡਾਕਟਰ ਤੇਜਪਾਲ ਸਿੰਘ, ਡਾਕਟਰ ਕਬਰਵਾਲ, ਰਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ, ਇਸ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਨਾਲ ਜਦੋਂ ਦਾ ਵਾਸਤਾ ਪਿਆ, ਸੱਚਮੁੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜੀਵਨ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਬਾਜਵਾ ਤੇ ਬੀਬੀ ਜੀ ਹਰਵੰਤ ਕੌਰ ਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਭਾਈ ਹੋਣ ਦੇ ਨਾਤੇ ਜਾਂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥੀ ਹੋਣ ਦੇ ਨਾਤੇ ਹੀ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ, ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਇਹ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਿੱਕਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਏ ਸੀ ਉਦੋਂ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਆਉਣਾ, ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਅੱਜ ਛੋਟਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਇਆ, ਅੱਜ ਸੁਰਿੰਦਰਜੀਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਇਆ, ਅੱਜ ਮਨਜੀਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਇਆ, ਕੱਲੇ ਕੱਲੇ ਦਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਰੱਖਣਾ। ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਕਮੇਟੀ ਦੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਹੋਣੀ, ਲੰਬੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਣੀ, ਬੀਬੀ ਜੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਕਮਰੇ 'ਚ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੋਣਾ, ਇੰਨਾ ਫਿਕਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਵੇਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਠੇ ਹੋਗੇ, ਆਰਾਮ ਕਰ ਲਓ। ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਬੀਬੀ ਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਤਾਂ ਬੈਠੇ ਹੀ ਹੋ ਨਾ, ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ। ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਦਾ ਕਾਰਨ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ, ਸਾਰਾ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦੋਤਰੇ ਦੋਤਰੀਆਂ ਗਾਂ ਪੜਦੋਤਰੀਆਂ ਪੜਦੋਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਹਨ। ਅਤੇ ਇਸ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਕੁੱਟ ਕੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਅਤੇ ਸੇਵਾ ਭਾਵ ਇਹ ਵੱਡਿਆਂ ਪਾਸੋਂ ਦਾਤ ਮਿਲੀ ਹੋਈ। ਸਭ ਨੇ ਹੀ ਚਲੇ ਜਾਣਾ, ਉਸ ਮਾਲਕ ਦੀ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਚਾਹੇ ਕੱਚੀ ਵੱਢ ਲਏ ਚਾਹੇ ਪੱਕੀ ਹੋਈ ਵੱਢ ਲਵੇ, ਪਰ ਬਾਬਾ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਦਾ ਸਦਕਾ ਬੀਬੀ ਜੀ ਹੋਣੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਉਮਰ ਬੜੀ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੁਰੂ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਨਾਲ, ਗੁਰੂ ਕੇ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਨਾਲ, ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜਦਿਆਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਤੀਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ। ਜਦ ਵੀ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਬਾਜਵਾ ਜੀ ਪਾਸ ਵੀ ਬੈਠਣ ਦਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਬੀਬੀ ਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੇ ਇਕੱਲੇ ਬੈਠਣ ਦਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਸੀ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਹੀ ਜਾਂ ਕਿ ਗੁਰੂ ਕੇ ਕੀਰਤਨੀਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ, ਪ੍ਰਾਤਨ ਕੀਰਤਨੀਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ, ਜਾਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ। ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਰਹੇ, ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਵੇਰੇ ਉੱਠ ਕੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ, ਕਦੇ ਕਰਤਾਰਪੁਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ, ਕਿਤੇ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਦੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਥਾਵਾਂ ਤੇ ਵਿਚਰੇ ਸਨ। ਮਹੀਨਾ ਕੁ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਆਏ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸੁਰਿੰਦਰਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੇ ਵਿਆਹ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ, ਬਿਮਾਰ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਸੀ। ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸਾਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਭੁੱਲਿਆ, ਵਧਾਈਆਂ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ, ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਵਧਾਈਆਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਬੱਚੇ ਦੇ ਵਿਆਹ ਦੀਆਂ। ਤੇ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੁਰਿੰਦਰਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਆ ਗਿਆ? ਹਾਂਜੀ ਆ ਗਿਆ। ਠੀਕ ਠਾਕ ਹੈ ਉਹ? ਲੜਕੀ ਆ ਗਈ? ਅਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹਾਲੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਈ, ਟਾਈਮ ਲੱਗੇਗਾ। ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਬੀਬੀ ਜੀ ਕੋਈ ਸੇਵਾ? ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਬਸ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ। ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਬੀਬੀ ਜੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਹੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸਭ ਦੀ, ਤੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਬਸ ਮੇਰੀ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਹੀ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ, ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਹੁਣ ਬਹੁਤ ਭੋਗ ਲਿਆ। ਖੈਰ ਐਸੇ ਜਾਨ ਬਿਰਲੇ ਜਗ ਅੰਦਰ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਦਾ ਮੌਤ ਚੇਤੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਸੇਵਕ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਿਮਿਤ ਬੇਸ਼ੱਕ ਜੀ ਪਤਾ ਸੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਚਲੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ। ਸਾਹਿਬ ਪਾਠ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਪ੍ਰਾਰੰਭ ਕਰ ਲਏ ਸੀ ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਿ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਦੀਵਾਨ ਦੀ ਆਰੰਭਤਾ ਸਮੇਂ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਪਰਮਿੰਦਰ ਕੌਰ ਤੇ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਸਤਿੰਦਰ ਕੌਰ ਟਿੱਟੂ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਪਾਸੋਂ 9ਵੇਂ ਮਹੱਲੇ ਦੇ ਸ਼ਲੋਕ ਸਰਵਣ ਕੀਤੇ। ਉਪਰੰਤ ਬਣੇ ਹੋਏ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਮੁਤਾਬਕ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਇੱਕ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਦਾ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਹੋਰ ਕਰਨਾ, ਫਿਰ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਸਰਵਣ ਕਰਾਉਣਗੇ, ਫਿਰ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਰਨਾ। ਜਿਵੇਂ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦੱਸਣਗੇ ਵੀਰ ਜੀ। ਸੋ ਮੈਂ ਤੇ ਇੰਨਾ ਕੀ ਦੱਸ ਸਕਦਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਪਿਆਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਰਹਿਮਤ ਕਰਨ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਚਰਨ ਕਮਲਾਂ ਵਿਖੇ ਅਟਲ ਨਿਵਾਸ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨ। ਦਿਲੋਂ ਇਹ ਅਸੀਸ ਨਿਕਲਦੀ ਹੈ, ਸਮਰੱਥ ਅਕਥ ਅਪਾਰ ਨਿਰਮਲ ਸੁਣੋ ਸੁਆਮੀ ਬਿਨੋ ਇਹੋ, ਕਰ ਜੋੜ ਨਾਨਕ ਦਾਨ ਮੰਗੈ ਜਨਮ ਮਰਨ ਨਿਵਾਰ ਲਿਓ। ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਬਾਣੀ ਇੱਕ ਓਂਕਾਰ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕਰਕੇ 18-10-20 ਤੱਕ ਇਹੋ ਹੀ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਦਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਮਨੁੱਖ, ਇਹ ਜੀਵ ਤੂੰ ਨਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਵਿਹਾਜਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਇਆ ਹੈ, ਬਾਕੀ ਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਧੰਦੇ ਆ, ਇਹ ਧੰਦਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ। ਆਓ ਐਸੀ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਭਰਿਆ ਭਰਪੂਰ ਐਸੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਨ ਵਾਲਾ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਜੋ ਕੋ ਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਟੁੰਬਣ ਵਾਲਾ, ਕਰ ਬੰਦਗੀ ਛਾੜ ਮੈਂ ਮੇਰਾ, ਹਿਰਦੈ ਨਾਮ ਸਮਾਰ ਸਵੇਰਾ ਸਵਾਰ ਸਵੇਰਾ। ਜੋ ਦਿਨ ਆਵੈ ਸੋ ਦਿਨ ਜਾਹੀ, ਕਰਨਾ ਕੂਚ ਰਹਿਣ ਕਰਨਾਹੀ, ਰਾਣਾ ਰਾਉ ਨਾ ਕੋ ਰਹਿ ਰੰਗ ਨਾ ਤੁੰਗ ਫਕੀਰ, ਵਾਰੀ ਆਪੋ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਬੰਧੈ ਧੀਰ। ਜੋ ਦਿਨ ਆਵੈ ਸੋ ਦਿਨ ਜਾਹੀ, ਕਰਨਾ ਕੂਚ ਰਹਿਣ ਸਥਿਰ ਨਾਹੀ, ਸੰਗ ਚਲਤ ਹੈ ਹੰਪੀ ਚਲਣਾ, ਦੂਰ ਗਗਨ ਸੰਗ ਮਰਨਾ। ਇਹ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਰੇ ਆਪ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਯਾਦ ਹੈ, ਆਪਾਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਇੱਥੇ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਹਾਂ। ਉਹੀ ਸਿੰਪਲ ਟੂਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਾਂ ਗਾਇਨ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਰਲ ਕੇ। ਇਹੋ ਇੱਕ ਸੱਚੀ ਤੇ ਸੁੱਚੀ ਅਸੀਸ ਹੈ, ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਅਸੀਸ ਦੇਣੀ ਹੈ। ਆਓ ਸਾਰੇ ਗਾਇਨ ਕਰੀਏ। ਕਰ ਬੰਦਗੀ ਕਰ ਬੰਦਗੀ
ਕਰ
लागा एक पकड़े सब मुक्ति चली रैन। साहब जी ने ऐसा जीवन सानू बतीत करने दे लई हुक्म कीता है, पर वो बिरले जीव, वो बिरलियां आत्मावां जिहड़ियां सतगुरु जी दे चरनां नाल जुड़ करके जिथे आप जुड़ते हैं उत्थे अपने परिवारां नूं भी जोड़ लेंदे हन। सो ऐसी जुड़ी हुई आत्मा वास्ते अरदास बेनती है। बादशाह संसार में रहिंदियां जीव पासों बेअंत प्रकार दीयां भुलां उल्टाइयां टुटियां रह जांदियां हन। आप बख्शंत पिता हो बख्श लेना, माता जी नूं अपने चरण कमलां विच अटल वास बख्शिश करना, पिछे समूह परिवार नूं भाणा मनण दा बल बख्शिश करना, उन्हां दे बख्शे नक्शे कदमां अनुसार जीवन व्यतीत करन दी सभी समर्था प्रदान करनी। कीर्तन करदे होइयां भुलां दी खिमा दे जाचकां गज के फतेह बुलाओ। वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरू जी की फतेह। वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरू जी की फतेह। तुसी मैनू सारे जानते हो, मैं कोई म्यूजिक का माहर नहीं, शब्द का माहर नहीं, गुरबाणी का माहर नहीं, पर मेरा एक फर्ज बनता है, मेरे जो स्वर्गवासी मदर इन लॉ, मैं जिन्होंने मदर भी आखांगा, तो उन्होंने मेरे शब्द सुनने का बहुत शौक से। जो भी मैं शब्द पढ़ना होंदा सी ते उस दिन मेरे नाल वो आउंदे सी, परमिंदर नूं इन्ना शौक नहीं, सो उन्होंने मेरे नाल आ जाना तो फिर उन्होंने पम्मी नूं रिपोर्ट देनी कि शब्द बहुत अच्छा पढ़े। अप्रीसीएशन तो करनी पैंदी है सन इन लॉ की। सो मेरी मैं थोड़े जे मिनट भी लवांगा। मनदीप बहुत काला पिया कि ये कहता टाइम से मुकाना, तो टाइम से शुरू नहीं होया तो मुकना कितना। सो थोड़े मिनट असीं लेट हाँ। सो तुसी प्लीज़ कभी जिंदगी के चीज़ों का मौका घट मिलता है, मतलब ना ही मिले सगों तो कहने सारे जिंदे रहन, पर जो इहो जिहा मौका आता है, इन्नी चंगी संगत इकट्ठी होंदी है तो 5-10 मिनट का कोई फर्क नहीं पैंदा। सो बच्चों को ये भी आप सिखा रहे हैं हौली हौली कि सीख जाओ, 10-15 मिनट का कुछ नहीं हो जाए। सो मैं मेरी सर्कमस्टांसिस ऐसे कि मेरी माँ ने मैनू नहीं सी पालिया, तो जदों मेरी माँ का स्वर्गवास होया तो मैं उन्होंने संस्कार से भी नहीं जा सका। हिंदुस्तान हालात ऐसे सी कि ना मैं तो मेरा भरा इतने आए हुए ने हरपाल सिंह, असीं दोवें नहीं जा सके उन्होंने संस्कार ते हरवंत कौर जी मेरे मदर लानी सी, मेरे मदर वर्गे सी, उन्होंने मैनू अडॉप्ट ही किया शुरू च, क्योंकि इन्हों का मुंडा कोई नहीं सी, तो जो ब्याह होया तो कहते सन तो मुंडा मिल गया। सो बोथ ऑफ देम ट्रीटेड मी लाइक अ सन एंड आई हैव लॉस्ट अ मदर। मेरे पिछले 4 महीने उन्होंने नाल मैं बताए ने। मेरी नाइट ड्यूटी होंदी सी ते उन्होंने कमरे च मैं सोना, तो दिन वेले दोवें भैणां सेवा करदियां सी। That time that I had with her, and I reflected on my own life and talked about death. We knew she was going to die. When she came home, she was on the death track. We could only keep her comfortable and nothing beyond that. And we all participated in it. It was painful, most painful 4 months of my life, because I saw her suffer. That suffering as a doctor I had never seen in my life. I was doctor all my life, but when the suffering comes so close, you are next to the suffering for an extended period of time, it teaches you a lot. ते जदों गए ने, the most peaceful time of her life was when she finally breathed her last. जदों उन्हों का सांस खत्म हो गए, असीं उन्हों का चेहरा आराम नाल पीसफुल देखा, नहीं तो 4 महीने बड़ा दुख देखे। मैं जिहड़ा शब्द अज चूज किया वो इस करके चूज किया है कि असी मौत के बारे फिर रिफ्लैक्ट करते हैं तो पता लगता है भी मौत है कि क्यों बंदा जमदा है, क्यों मरदा है। तो ये रामकली राग के पंजवीं पातशाही ने एक शब्द लिखा है। मैं वैसे काफ़ी इमोशनल हाँ, मैनू नहीं पता मेरी आवाज़ मैनू काम देगी कि नहीं है, बट आई ट्राई। शब्द है कौन मुआरे कौन मुआ। तुसीं सारिਆਂ ने इस शब्द को सुनिया। तो राव की तुक का दूजा हिस्सा है ब्रह्म ज्ञानी मिलकर हो विचारा ये तो चलत पिया। हुण मैं सारी जिंदगी अपने आप चलत का हिसाब मैं सोचा भी ये चला गया, नहीं, ये तो चलत पिया इस एक रब का ड्रामा है इस दुनिया की साडी लाइफ। चलत इज ए प्ले, ए ड्रामा। सो जो असीं मौत को देखते हैं तो उन्होंने असीं फिर रोन लग पैंदे हैं। आई एम वेरी प्राउड ऑफ माई बाजवा साहब फैमिली, ऑल ऑफ अस। There was no crying at her death. In fact, we were celebrating her life. Right from day one, जिद्दन उन्होंने श्वास लिया उदन भी रोया कोई नहीं घर दे विच। और यो सीखण वाली गल है सारे। गुरु ग्रंथ साहब भरिया पिया इस मैसेज नूं देते हैं कि तुसी मौत नूं माड़ा नहीं समझना, क्योंकि ये तो ड्रामे का एक स्टेज का एक चैप्टर है, तो वह आउंदा ते चला जाता है। ये बाणी की हर तुक मैं ट्रांसलेट नहीं कराँगा, ट्रांसलेशन उत्थे आएगी, ध्यान देना जरा, क्योंकि ये बड़ा क्लीयर मैसेज दिता है कि एक जड़ा ड्रामा हैगा ये अज जब तुम बैठे हो ड्रामा वेख के रोई जाते हो तो कल तुहाडा भी ड्रामा हो जाना, यू विल ऑल बी गोइंग। सो ये रब का खेड है, वो हुक्म च जो चला रहा, जो उन्हें चलाया उन्होंने मनो तो अपनी जिंदगी बिताओ, तो तां ही असीं खुश रहांगे। ये बच्चे जिहड़े मेरे पीछे बैठे ने, ये हर एक ही बच्चा इस स्टेज तो सिंग कर सकता जी, एंड दे ऑल वांटेड टाइम, एंड टाइम इज द मोस्ट प्रेशियस कमोडिटी। वी डोंट हैव द टाइम, ना साडे कोल इत्थे आ ना घर जाके आ, जिथे भी चले जाओ टाइम नहीं है जी। पेरेंट्स का ख्याल करना, कोई काम करना इंपॉर्टेंट, टाइम नहीं है जी। टाइम इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट कमोडिटी एंड दैट्स व्हाट मनदीप इज टेलिंग अस। टाइम नहीं है, तू शुरू कर अपना कीर्तन। सो आई एम गोइंग टू स्टार्ट इट। राग रामकली जी मैं गावांगा। ये मेरे उस्ताद नाल मेरे बैठे ने, इन्होंने सारी बाणी जिन्नी मैनू गाउणी है वो इन्होंने सिखाई है। तो बाणी दे लड़ मैनू बाजवा साहब ने लाया। परमिंदर के विआह तो पहलों मैं सिख तो सीगा, पग भी सी, दाड़ी भी सी, ताइयों इन्होंने सिलेक्ट किया, पर मैं खाली सिख सी, वेखण नूं लगदा सी विच कुछ नहीं। बट दैन लिविंग विद दैम, लिविंग विद द होल फैमिली, इट चेंज माई लाइफ। मैनू गुरमुखी नहीं सी आउंदी, मैं गुरमुखी कहते तो नहीं सीखी, गुरु ग्रंथ साहब तो अपनिया जड़ियाँ गुटके होंदे ने। एक गुटका मैनू विआह च मिलिया सी, हिंदी आउंदी सी, हिंदी तो पंजाबी वेख के सीखी। फिर माँ नूं चिट्ठी लिखी इंग्लैंड तो, क्योंकि माँ नूं अंग्रेजी नहीं सी आउंदी। माँ नूं चिट्ठी लिखी, पूरा दिन लग गया, एक सफ़े की पेज की चिट्ठी, इट वाज वेरी पेनफुल। उतों लग के हुण तक गुरु ग्रंथ साहब इज माई फर्स्ट लव एंड परहैप्स माई लास्ट। सो मेरी बेनती है सारे बच्चों सिखां जिहड़े भी इत्थे बैठे हैं कि भाई सिख बन जाओ, भावें वेखण नूं नहीं अंदरों तो सिख बन जाओ, सारे बन सकते हो। सिख बन जाओ। सिख जो अंदरों बन गए तो बाहर की तो गल ही कोई नहीं रहनी, बाहर तो तुसीं पढ़ना ही पढ़ना है। ये अंदरली सिक्खी बच्चों भी सिखाओ, आप भी करो। सो यही बाजवा साहब का मैसेज है, यो मिसिज बाजवा हरवंत कौर का मैसेज है, तो यो इस दास का मैसेज है, यो भाई साहब का मैसेज है। ਇਹੋ ਹੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਾ ਮੈਸੇਜ। ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਕੋਈ 10 ਮਿੰਟ ਦਾ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਂ। मेरे को ऐसे 15 मिनट दिते सी, मैं 10 मिनट से ले चुका, 10 हो गए। शब्द पढ़ते हैं बोलते हैं कोई भुला चुका नहीं माफ़ी वाहिगुरू जी का खालसा वाहिगुरू जी की फतेह
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I know I've already been called up on my father for being very stickler on time, but this is the time that my grandmother had. When we would wake up every Sunday morning, she'd be the first one ready, waiting for someone to take her to the Gurdwara. And it's still very odd for me to look in the Sangat and not see her sitting there, because she was a permanent fixture in this hall. And for her, the kirtan that she had with Bhai Sahib and the inspiration that is given to my father, it's all part of her, it's part of who she was. And we're here today to celebrate who she was. So we appreciate all of you being with us. Hopefully you're comfortable. But this celebration of life starts now. And I'd like to invite a series of very strong women to come forward and talk about the strongest woman who was among us. And I'll start by asking my Masi, Satinder Kaur Kabarwal, to please come forward. We start to pick up all these cues about the environments that they're in and what you'll hear. And as we were looking through the program and thinking about what we wanted to hear and say, it really struck me that, you know, the impact that this one woman has had spread so far and so wide, but particularly around some of the women who'll be here to speak about her today. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. As you can see, I'm not a public speaker, but I wanted to say a few words about my mom. She was it's very easy to take mothers and parents for granted, and I guess I was one of them in the beginning who took them for granted, that they will always be there. When I reflect on my mother's life, I'm struck by what a caring woman she was. She not only took care of my father's family and my sister and myself, but she also spent the last 30 years or so helping me raise my kids. My mother was a strong, confident woman with a quiet and dignified presence and a very big giving heart. I'm grateful to her to have had the opportunity to help take care of her and to be by her side at the end of her life. Even in her last days, she never stopped being herself, generous, dignified, and caring about her family, worrying about them, that who was going to take care of them. Although she's no longer physically with us, I'm at peace knowing that she's in a better place and will always remember and cherish all she taught me by example, to be humble, kind, and love everyone. Thank you very much. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'll invite my sister, Harmeet Kaur Dillon, to please come up on stage. And while she's coming, just make another remark on these pillars, right? These people who are pillars in our lives. And as my Masi just finished saying, somebody who really we know is there and have the opportunity every once in a while to look back on. And you'll see long after she's gone, the pillar and the strength that came from it will be around forever. And really appreciate those kind words from my Masi. So next, Harmeet Kaur.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'm the oldest grandchild. I was privileged to know Nana Ji and Nani Ji for my entire life. And I'm the only one who was born in India, the old country. And so I've shared that connection with them. When my brother and I were young, Nana Ji was still in the armed services. And so when we went to visit in the summer times, we were visiting my grandmother as a working woman, because being the wife of a general is hard work. I can see that. She always took it as a job. And I think my mother has been mentioning over the days, we never saw her in her night clothes. We never saw her just kind of hanging out. And she was always perfectly turned out and very, very dignified at all times. She did her hair carefully. She taught me as a young girl her beauty secrets of putting the cold cream on and taking care of her skin. The other granddaughters know as well the exhortation to stay out of the sun. Didn't want us to get dark. That would be permanent. You'd never be able to get rid of that. So that was something that we learned during those summers in India as well. And we laugh now because it's a fashion to be tan, and that's beautiful in America, but she had an old school vision of beauty, and she exemplified that until the end. We always knew both of my grandparents as people who commanded respect, and when you look at how old people are treated in this country sometimes in our Western culture, you don't see that, but so that was something that I grew up with, that not only did we treat them as people who commanded respect because of our family relationship, but everybody treated them with a lot of respect. Every single person, from the lowest sweeper in the house to other generals and their wives and all the relatives that my grandmother was a foster mother to and a mentor to. And so it came naturally to us to also treat them with respect. She could be strict. Certainly when I was younger, she got a little mellow over time. But when my brother and I went and spent summers there, she kept us on a regimen. And but as my aunt just said, very loving as well. I remember, this is back in the 1970s and 80s when India didn't have the economic freedom that it has right now. Things like sugar and ingredients for the cakes that she used to bake for us, those were not readily available. She would save them up, and she would then make cake for my brother and myself in her little countertop oven, and she would make ice cream for us at home as well. I remember that was the tastiest ice cream, the homemade ice cream that she used to make. There are some things we only gradually knew about our grandmother over time. It came time for me to be married when I was younger. And so when I went to India to do my shopping, we went to Chandigarh to stay with her, to go to Sector 17 to do the shopping there. But before we went there, she took out her heavy keychain that she had all the time, and it had the mystery keys to every room in the house, and it had the keys to her different trunks. And she opened up one of those trunks. I could hear her shuffling around in the closet, opening up the trunks, and she came out. And it turned out she'd been saving up fabrics for her granddaughter's weddings for many years. And these were very elegant. They were older fabrics. They were not the fabrics you could go buy in the store now. And I still treasure those clothes that she gave me. She also came out with ingots. She had been saving up silver and saving up gold to have jewelry made. I mean, this is very traditional lady. And so she would give that to each of us and say, go have something made in your own image. So that was something I'll never forget also. I'm wearing a bracelet that she gave me at that time, and it's my favorite piece of jewelry. We all went through hard times in our lives, all of her grandkids. She was never judgmental. She was always very supportive of us. And one thing I'd like to think I would learn from her, I haven't learned it yet, is that she never talked ill of anybody. She would quietly sit there. She would absorb everything that was going on around her. If you wanted to know what she really thought, though, you'd get her alone and ask her her opinion, but she wouldn't say it in front of outsiders. She would tell us quietly if you asked her what was the real scoop on that person. She was like a human genealogy app of all the families. If you ever met anybody from our Punjab farming communities, in North Carolina, in California, if you met somebody who had one of the farming community names, you would ask her, say, Naniji, so-and-so said that they were also in the Air Force, or their uncle was in the Air Force, their uncle was in the Army, did you know them? And you could see all the counters clicking in her head, and she would ask a few introductory questions, what village were they from? And then within a few steps, she'd be able to figure out the 6 degrees of separation of anybody. It was amazing, and all without a computer, all without Google. She kept herself busy through all the years, and some habits that I picked up from her. Embroidery is one, knitting is another. She admired my knitting. She showed me some of the things that she had knit, and it was one of my greatest pleasures in my life to be able to knit some sweaters for my grandmother in the last decade. I was getting off the plane on the red eye on Thursday morning as my husband and I were coming here from California, and I was taking off the shawl I'd been wearing, and I folded it carefully, and I was putting it in my bag, and I realized that that step that I had just done is something that she would have done. She would have taught her 2 daughters to do that carefully. Each of them drilled that into their daughters as well, and you know, I'm sure my cousins are going to pass that along as well. And the point is that starting as this was glossed over before, but starting as a refugee with nothing in Punjab, she never took anything for granted. She always treated everything that God had given her with tremendous amount of respect and grace and dignity. She had a lot of health struggles over the years. A lot of you probably wouldn't have known about them because she didn't complain. She always made a point to put on a good face and dress herself up, come to the Gurdwara if she could. And you know, she exemplified that principle of Chardi Kala that we are all supposed to learn and carry forward. And so if there's one thing I hope I can take forward from my grandmother's life, it's that example of not taking anything for granted and always keeping in good spirits. So we will remember her very fondly. I feel like she had a big impact on my life, and I know she did for the rest of my family who's here, who you're here from. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I want to thank Harmeet for those kind words. It's definitely the reflection back on our childhood, the formative years that were spent with the summers in India. I don't know that we still think that we would send our kids all the way across the country to spend a couple of weeks with their grandparents, but we were sent all the way across the world to spend our summers over there, and that you know, indoctrination that happened, the discipline, the love, the care, the connection to the community, it happened during those years, and my grandmother was in charge. My grandfather was busy, and my grandmother was there for us. And so when you look back to the core memories, to the core of what's there, and as Harmeet mentioned, with some of the habits and some of the principles, they all came from my grandmother. And so, you know, on behalf of myself and Parveen and Zarafar Hazuri and Nawaz, all of us who like really, really have loved my grandmother and loved everything about who she is, the way she raised my mother, the way she raised my father, and then the way she kind of inspired all of us to be somebody great. It's something that we'll never lose. You're seeing on the screen a series of pictures that we just pulled together. They're random, but they reflect part of her life. This is a woman who really knew how to live. So I'm going to invite now Sumit Korbal to come forward and share her thoughts of our grandmother and kind of the memories that strike with her. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you all so much for coming here today. It is really a testament to Nani Ji to see how many people loved her in her life. For as long as I can remember, and as you will hear and have heard, we spent every summer with my Nani Ji, and I especially treasure the last 9 summers that I spent with my son Hargobind with her as well. What started as a mad dash to catch her early in the morning with her cup of tea and a bite-sized chocolate for me, later moved to conversations at our breakfast table. This was always a place for me to hear about her life and, of course, what was going on in our huge family tree, leaving literally no leaf unturned. The stories that she shared with me through the beauty of a simpler time in Pakistan, where a well-to-do family raised their children, running across the ravaging destruction of partition through the loss of one's homeland to embrace another, and finally through a life of courage, grace, and sheer will. She was a woman on the go with a clear mission and drive, and I believe that it was her storytelling that influenced me in my life and my career choices. During one of our morning sessions, I gleaned a great deal from Nani Ji, more than I usually did when we used to eat breakfast together. We were sitting down, and it had been a few months since Facebook's COO, Sheryl Sandberg, had begun her Lean In initiative. It was an innovative conversation that I was telling Nani Ji about. Sandberg focused on encouraging women to pursue their ambitions and changing the conversation about what you can't do to what you can do. She began a movement called Lean In, Women, Work, and the Will to Lead. I had her book with me, and I was not paying attention to Naniji. I was trying to read and take her main lessons, which were Sandberg's main lessons, which were sit at the table, make your partner a real partner, and don't leave before you leave. All of this was resonating with me because I was recharging my career. I was beginning to figure out what I was going to do next. And Naniji said, "What is it that you're reading?" So I began to tell her everything that I had been reading, and she picked up the book. She looked at it from the outside and the inside, and she flipped through a few pages, and then she said, "Yes, you must read it. Yes, you must go back to work. You must have something that is your own, and you must make a mark on this world." And then it hit me. My Naniji was not telling me something new. She was truly ahead of her time. She had leaned in long before Sandberg popularized the notion. She had been modeling these important life lessons, and she had been telling me these stories through her countless parables about her life and family. She had already taken a seat at the table. She was a strong and confident woman who moved seamlessly from hostess to countless dignitaries to the official mother of so many, of her real relatives and even in the community. She was innovative, and she never, ever, ever stopped working, which I think you'll hear here over and over again. After she raised her own children, many people go to retire and relax, and she recreated the role of grandmother and great-grandmother, having a second and third role parenting my siblings and all of her great-grandchildren. She was one of the most determined people I know. Make your partner a real partner. Naniji had a tremendous partnership that I long admired with my Naniji. It was seamless, two people with one motto, one soul, who balanced each other and worked together through every project. And don't leave before you leave. She had the strongest will I have ever seen until the day she died. She did not give up, ever. As Hermeet mentioned earlier, she had many ailments in her life, and many people might have said, "The end is near, I have to leave," but not Naniji. She was present at every moment, and she was mentally with you. I'm really gonna miss Naniji, and while she won't be there physically with me to share her stories and life lessons, she has set a few examples I want to share with you before me. Have a big heart. She had a place for everyone in her heart, and she kept a space for more and more people. Be empathetic and compassionate. While she was instinctively nurturing, she always put herself in other people's shoes. Be a survivor and never a victim. She moved and moved and moved and moved, and every time she created a new place, new friends, and new opportunities. Learn grace. That was something that she taught me, not just by telling me, but through her words. She never, ever got angry and screamed and shouted and yelled. She would keep quiet, and she would say what she had to say, and then she would move on. She taught you how to live life to the fullest. She would sit every morning, put her placemat out, knife and fork, beautiful table setting, and she would sit with you and want to have a conversation with you. Be grateful. You would think that after all she suffered through in her life, she would at one moment at some point say, "Look at me, look at what I've done." Instead, she said, "I am so grateful to have what I have. I am so lucky and so blessed. Look at where I came from and look at what I have accomplished." Be brave, be courageous, lose fear. She showed me that every day as she held her head high confidently. Have meaning and purpose in your life. Don't sit around. Every moment is a precious moment to do something, to be somewhere, to learn something. She was a lifelong student. And finally, be a real Sikh. This was a conversation she and I had more recently in my life as she was getting older. And she said, as you've heard, Sikhi comes from within, Sumit. I have left you with the lessons, but you have to put them into practice. You read this Bani every day. You have to turn it around and make it true through your being. I come across, when I think of my Nani Ji and her death, this poem by David Harkins, and it reminds me of the lessons she taught me. You can shed the tears that she is gone, or you can smile for the life that she lived. You can close your eyes and pray that she comes back, or you can open your eyes and see what she has left. Your heart can be empty because you feel she is gone, or it can be full of love, the love you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of all of the yesterdays. You can remember her and only that she is gone, or you can cherish her memory and let her legacy live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what she would want you to do. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go back. They really don't make people in the spirit of Nani Ji as we have moved into a different era. While I have physically lost a real Sikh hero, she did not, as always, she did not leave me empty-handed. On one of our last conversations together, I said, Nani Ji, what am I going to do without you? And she said, I have given you everything that I can give you. And even today, as she's left me physically, she has left me with a treasure box full of wisdom to remember her by and to use to make our lives a little fuller, a little stronger, a little happier, just like hers. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. It's a great set of stories and memories about the pattern that my Nani Ji had, and I think you're hearing this over and over again. I'm going to invite Jasmeet Kaur Sidhu to come up as well to share her thoughts and remembrances of our grandmother, but at the end of the day, as Sumit said, she's left it here. She left it for all of us, and we hope to continue to share it, keep the memory alive.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you all for being here today and sharing in the memory of my grandmother, Harmant Kaur Bajwa. My Nani Ji was the strongest, most graceful, loving, and beautiful woman I have ever encountered. She had a way about her, as you've heard, always dressed to the nines, but never too flashy. And as a child, one of my favorite things to do was to watch her carefully doing her hair, applying her perfume and lipstick. She always had the best quality things, and she took very good care of herself. And she impressed that upon us as well. Every morning she woke up, she did her pot, exercised, did stretching, and then she went on a walk with my Nana Ji. Watching them together, side by side, I was always in awe of their love for each other. They were true partners in life. When I was little and my Nana Ji was still working, we used to go to India to stay with Nana Ji and Nani Ji. And when they were posted in Delhi, they lived in a very tall high-rise. It's funny what you remember as you get older, but one thing I will miss about my Nani Ji is that even though she was always strict, she had a soft spot for her grandchildren. It may be hard to believe, but when I was little, I was a tad bit naughty, and I knew that I could never get anything past my Nani Ji. She was a very smart lady. One day, on a particularly boring morning, I decided to take my doll apart and throw pieces one by one over the edge of the balcony to the streets below. Sure enough, a few minutes later, the doorbell rang and a flustered man holding the doll parts arrived at my Nani G's door. She did not wince. She apologized to the person and came right to me. And although I know she was very, very angry, she never yelled at us. She always explained things to us simply and reminded us of who we were, who our grandfather was, and why we needed to behave. Some of my best memories in life are from just spending time chatting with my Nani G and visiting her home in Delhi or in Chandigarh. Nani G was a very proud woman, and she was always excited to tell us stories about our family and how everyone had stayed together and stayed in touch. She wanted to make sure we knew everyone's names and histories, and she was careful to tell us every detail of their lives. I feel so lucky now to have had those moments with her, listening to her unwrap the layers of our family, of her siblings and their children and the extended families, and the amazing lives that they had lived. As I grew older, Nani G was happy to pass along recipes, beauty secrets, as Hermeet mentioned, and other advice, but one thing she was always particular about was the way that she kept her own home and how she entertained people. She only kept as much as she needed, but she always kept an impeccably neat house and made sure she had things on hand to take care of guests. And I always really admired that about her. Sometimes it takes a long time for it to really set in that you've lost someone. In the moment they leave, it seems surreal, but as reality sets in, you start to really feel the loss. When we arrived in Ashboro a few days ago, my daughters, Ajuni and Prabnur, were so excited. They said, "Mommy, when are we going to Nani Masi's house to see Parnani Ji?" We had not yet shared the news of her passing, and so they were anxiously awaiting the chocolates she always had on hand to slip to her grandchildren when they visited her. One of my biggest sadnesses in life was that my Nanaji passed away when I was pregnant with the girls, and they never got to meet one of the most important people in my life. But I'm so happy that they formed a bond with my Naniji, and she loved them so much. As many of you know, Naniji walked with a cane at the end of her life, and as my daughters were learning how to walk, they would hold themselves up with her cane and stand beside her. And she would encourage them. "Come on, let's do it together," she would say. And I would watch as one generation taught the other how to take their first steps. The last thing I will share about Naniji was how proud she was of us, how much she loved us, and how she wanted to always be a part of things and of this community. Even when she was sick, it didn't deter her from attending events or wanting to come to Gurdwara. She had a laughter and a spirit that could light up a room, and her beauty and grace was notable, even at the age of 90. I feel very fortunate that we were able to visit her a few times in her final months, and she was eager for us to sit with her at those times. The last time I saw my Naniji, she held me close and gave me 3 final pieces of advice. Never be consumed by money. It washes away like dust. Always be there for your family. Never give up on them. Be strong and stay happy. Those 3 sentiments sum up my Naniji's outlook on life. Naniji, I love you. May you rest in peace. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa. Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'm going to invite my father up to do a special introduction. And while he's coming forward again, you're hearing very similar themes, and each of us has gotten something different and special. I think Dad's going to introduce somebody who got a little something special from Naniji too.
All events in life and history have a lesson. And even tragic events like we've just gone through in the last 3 months, looking after Harwant Kaur, we were given a gift by God. And that gift is here with us. Her name is La Toshiana. We used to call her Tosha. We told Harwant Kaur, Tosha is going to look after you. She was given to us by the hospice agency to look after her. And she was assigned to be with her for 8 hours. And we couldn't just be satisfied with that. So she was working 10 hours a day. Toshiana is a very unique person that we met in our life from a community that I did not know much about. We all form impressions till we live with them and learn about who they are. And all my impressions were changed by this young girl. Toshiana came from Oregon, moved to North Carolina to be with her father. She was looking after her grandmother who died. And she had that experience. And that experience is what got her job. She had no nursing experience. Toshiana comes to us with the credit that she was an only non-smoker, caretaker that we could find. So that's how she entered our house. And I wish she always stayed with us, never leave anymore. This woman became a life, part of our life, part of Harvant Kaur's life. She loved this girl all the time. They got along very well. This girl was so sweet and kind that she learned Gurmukhi to be able to communicate with Harvant Kaur, because Harvant Kaur wasn't going to speak English to her. And we weren't going to teach Punjabi to her, but she learned it, because that was the only way she could communicate with her. And she picked out the words that she was talking to us. I was absolutely amazed by this girl's brightness. Toshiana is going to share a few words with us here. But let me tell you that this girl has far to go. She needs a lot of help. And we are going to help her as much as we can. Harvant Kaur left a 6-month scholarship for her to go for nursing training. We will pay for the expenses as soon as she finds a place she can go to. Please, Toshiana.
Tashika. I was sent to the Dylan Bajwa Kabawal's house for 4 months. At first, I was nervous because I'd never done this before. I only took care of my grandmother. But Miss Bajwa made me feel like I was family. She wasn't just a patient. She was like my mother or my grandmother. I used to wake up in the morning and go to the house, and I'll say, Tashika, Mommy G. And she used to say, Tashika, Beta. She never treated me like I was an employee. It was more like family. She made sure I had breakfast, I had a good lunch, and I got home safe. Miss Bajwa means everything to me. And I am so glad that I ran into this family and I got introduced in the house. They have taught me Punjabi. I don't speak it fluently, but I know some words. Like Miss Dillon taught me how to say, I'm sorry. When we used to change Miss Bajwa, we needed her to roll over from side to side. So I used to say, Pernani, Idar Ojo, Order Ojo. And she'll laugh at me and say, Idar Oder. And I say, Idar, and she'll roll to me and we'll change her. And she wake up and I'll make her chai and prashad. Now, prashad is really good. We feed her prashad in the morning, and she only ate very little. One thing about Ms. Bajwa, she did not eat a lot. It was a little prashad and a half cup of tea. But she will always tell Miss Dillon and Miss Cabawal, give my prashad to Tasha. And I would eat her prashad, because it was just the bond between us. And I'm really going to miss her. And like I said, she wasn't a patient. She was like my grandmother. So to me, I lost 2 grandparents now. And I'm really gonna miss her. Thank you. Tachika.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I appreciate all of you and your patience, and you know, it's a touching time for all of us. You know, my grandmother had many talents, and we've heard a lot about them. I'm going to invite my son, Peg Zoraver, to come and share a few words as well. And while he's coming up, again, you know, on behalf of the families who can't share enough, Parveen has been dedicated, didn't want to come and speak today, but the way my grandmother made us feel was that we were all very special, and we hope that passes on to our children. So Zoraver will give a few words. He's much taller now.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Not very many people have the chance to know their great-grandparents as well as we got to know Pranani Ji. She was always there for us, supporting us and cheering us on throughout our lives. And she still will, even though she is no longer here with us. We will always remember the constant love and care she gave us every time we visited her or FaceTimed her from California. Pranani Ji, we love you so much, and we'll always remember your optimism and love you gave us through our time with you. Today, I'm speaking on behalf of all of the great-grandchildren of Pranani Ji. Nawaz Kaur, Hazuri Kaur, Hargobind Singh, Ajuni Kaur, Pranur Kaur, Arjun Singh, Arman Singh, and Rania Kaur. The legacy of Pranani Ji's strength and kindness will not only live on in the pictures and videos and stories we cherish of hers, but she will live on in all of our hearts. Pranani Ji's example of compassion and community are something we will all strive to be like. Even though you're no longer here on earth with us, Pranani Ji, you will always be with us. We love you so much, Pranani Ji. Love all of your great-grandchildren. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Okay, we're getting close to the end now. I'm going to invite my mother, Parminder Kaur, to please come forward and share a few more thoughts. She did speak earlier today at the funeral and wanted to continue on with the final messages. And like you said, this goes on and on and on. I think you've heard the same message, that this permanence that my grandmother has left behind, I hope that all of us have the chance to do in the people of the lives that we touch. Because she's not here, but she's here. And she's going to be here for a very, very long time. And all these lessons that she's left behind are great. I mean, my mother has had the most time to spend with her, and we'll share her thoughts. And then afterwards, I'll invite my Uncle Diljit to come forward and say his thank yous, and then we'll have a nansab and the completion of the program.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'm sure all of you have heard a lot, and I'm sure all of you have your own experiences with my mother. I'm not going to take too much of your time, but my mother was a very special lady. She adopted all of us. Anybody who spoke to her nicely, she adopted them as their own. And one person she really adopted was my Jutani. Their son, Gurpreet, got married. We went to the wedding. Mummy couldn't go. And she said, Beta, a mere valon Sarjeet nu cheezan de de. Odi maa nahi na hegi. So jitna naanke karde ne, she got everything together, and she said, and Sarjeet couldn't believe that her void of not having a mother had been fulfilled. So she did little things. She didn't speak a lot, but she always kept thinking, idda karna, idda karna, idda karna. We'll miss my mother, you know. She used to sit in that spot, and her friends over there would save a spot for her. They would go downstairs for langar, and one of the ladies who sat in the chairs would always save a spot for my mother. So they have a nice bond. This Sangat has been her life stay. She, I think, lasted so long after my father passed away is because of the Sangat. She looked forward. You know, I would be lazy, my knees are hurting. Mummy, tusi main thoda ठहर के जावांगी. And she would say, मैं ते तैयार हां, मैं ते तेजपाल नाल चलदी हां. And she would be ready and come to the Gurdwara. We don't get our mother back once she goes away, but then we start becoming the mother ourselves and make sure that legacy gets passed on to our children, to our daughters. Little things, you know, sewing and knitting and embroidery and cooking, and you know, these days you tell something like this to a girl and she'll say, why do I have to cook? Why won't my husband cook, you know? But you know, why do I have to do all the work? But this fulfills our lives. These little things fulfill our lives. Everybody should learn how to cook because, you know, God's given them two hands. But when you have a partnership, everything doesn't get divided equally. And sometimes we have to take pride in what we do. And that's what she taught us. You know, quietly she did everything. So my mom, like we called her mom, we'll miss you. We'll always keep looking for you. You were in the kitchen before I got there. Though I always waited for my father to come, and even till today, sometimes I feel he's coming down the stairs. So even though she's gone, her presence will always be in our lives. So Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you all for coming. It's been a long day, and I think my brother-in-law is going to be here, and we'll wrap up. Thank you very much. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Satsang Ji, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. We will soon wrap up. जिदा बाणी च लिखा मरण लिखाए मंडल में आए. So we are here for one thing is sure, we are going to die one day. So ये भी पाना सानू मनना पैना. This play has to end someday, like Tejpal said. My mother-in-law, Mrs. Harwant Kaur Bajwa, lived actually a full life and accomplished a lot which most people will only aspire to achieve. She was a loving mother, great mother-in-law, a kind grandmother and great-grandmother. So even though she has departed from us physically, she lives with us in memory and our genes. Tejpal mentioned about his experience. I actually had two mothers who took care of me. One started in 1946, another I got as a gift in 1973. My second mother shared with me few things toward the end of her life. She said, when I was a young lady, many people would say tauntingly, little did she know so she was really gave us a love of a real mother, and we are so blessed. On the lighter side, I shared a commonality with her. She was a very sweet lady and she loved sweets, and I also love sweets. One of the Rajinder, should we not have garam jalebiyan and dudh, which I enjoyed and she also cherished. So I think we are here to celebrate her life. We are here to learn from her and inherit from her what she taught her through Gurbani and by living it as our gurus want us, all of us, to do. Next, I would like to thank Bhai Sahib, Bhai Amarjit Singh Ji, Bhai Sukhdev Singh Ji and their Jathas, as well as Bhai Rajinder Singh Ji Sital, who have entertained us with wonderful kirtan. They always do, but today was heart-touching, maybe for the reason we are here. At the same time, I'd like to thank all the doctors, nurses, and other caregiving medical staff and hospice staff who took care of my mother-in-law for the last 4 months. She couldn't have asked for any better care, and the best caregivers were her 2 daughters and Tejpal, and I was little part of it because I was living in Ashborough and working with her on the weekends. Like mentioned earlier, Tasha was her adopted granddaughter. She's always cared for her, and Tasha will always greet me when I came on Saturdays or Fridays. I also like to thank all the Sangat members who are here today for paying tribute to her and sharing this occasion of separation of our mother-in-law from us and our mother from us. Now I would like to introduce some guests who are from out of town. First of all, I'm not sure if my dad is here. My dad, Sir Gurbaksh Singh Kabrawal, who is here from California, from Bakersfield. He took a flight, red-eye, to be here this morning. And he's like an opening batsman wanting to score a century. He's 93, still batting, and he wanted to be here. And I told him, stay here for a week. He said, no, I'm going back in the evening. Along with that, my sister-in-law, Panji Rajinder Kaur, is here from Bakersfield. My older Kudam, Doctors Rajinder and Sujit Bal are here along with their older son, Rupinder Bal. They are from Ohio and their son lives in Texas. My other Kudam is here, Doctors Baljeet and Jitinder Sindhu. They are here from Virginia. My third Kudam could not be here because he's babysitting Sandeep's children, who are very small. My wife's first cousin, Harvinder Teensa, is here. He's from India, visiting his 2 sons who are physicians. Dr. Tejpal's Kuram, Dr. Darshan Singh Saluja and Mrs. Meeta Saluja from Baltimore are here. Veena's Mamaji is here along with his wife, Mr. and Mrs. Paul Bhaga. Tejpal's older brother and his wife, Harpal and Sujit Tillon, along with their son, Gurpreet Tillon. They are here from California. We have my wife's other cousin's husband, Prabjit Singh from California. Tejpal's cousins are here, Nani Gagi and Kamaljit Bajwa from DC. Mandeep's brother-in-law, Daljit and Spreet Saluja are here. They are physicians. And Devjit and Meher Saluja are here. Sarvjit, Keet, Preetam, Akal Bhutani are there here also from Maryland, Baltimore, along with their grandmother, Surinder Bhutani from Baltimore as well. Goody Sandhu from DC is here. And my 2 close relatives from my father-in-law's side, one is Dr. and Mrs. Inderjit Singh Teensa and Dr. and Mrs. Rajinder Singh Teensa. They are from Virginia. I may have overlooked someone, but I'd like to thank you all for being here and sharing this occasion with us. Now I'll request, I'm reminded that Dr. Manmohan Singh Khokhar and his family are here as well from Virginia, from Richmond. Thank you very much. Now we'll proceed with the answer. Hanji. We have
Thank you very much. We have this one final.
I'll take just a couple of minutes. To my friends, Parminder, Stender, Tejpal, Indrajit, and the families. You all have told us how much you love your mother. And I would like to take this opportunity to tell you all what this congregation is thinking about you. We live in a society where it is called knowledge-based society. Wisdom and the carrier of wisdom are being warehoused in retirement homes and so on. You have set an example. Our heritage is the heritage of love for the carriers of wisdom, our families, our elders. You, by your life, have set a great example for this community. And my prayer to God is that may God bless you with the same kind of love from your children that you have given to your parents. I offer the condolence of this community to you, our love for you, and wishes that your children will always love you as much as you have loved your children. God bless you, and thank you very much for giving me the chance.
Thank you for those kind words. We've had a lot of people in the community, and we really appreciate that. From the people who've helped, I also want to make sure that we recognize during this last few months, and particularly in the last few days, preparing all of this has been a tremendous amount of work. And so many of you have offered your help and given your help, and particularly my mommy G's who have been here, and have my wife who's taken on a lot of that role and responsibility. All of you know what you've done, and we really, really, really want to thank you. So please don't feel that it's not recognized in some way. But this goes on. We're a community, we're a family, and we want to make sure that you understand how much this means to all of us to be here for a few days and to be here forever as part of this community, just like my grandmother was. We're going to go on to a Nansab now. And then we'll have the completion of the program, and we hope everyone will please join us for longer downstairs. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Bhai
का खालसा वाहिगुरू जी की फतेह। ठाकुर तुम अरदास जियो पिंड सब तेरी रास, तुम मात पिता